All right. Welcome everybody to the Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce webinar. The topic today is the Georgia Cyber Center, Lessons Learned for Beaufort's Future. Really exciting list of panelists joining us today. We're honored to have council member from County Council, Alice Howard, the mayor of Beaufort, Mayor Stephen Murray, the provost for the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, Eric Skipper, the president from the Technical College of the Lowcountry, Rich Gough, and the chairman of the South Coast Cyber Center, retired Marine Colonel Warren Parker. All of our guests are distinguished and esteemed, and we're happy to have all of them with us. This is also the traveling delegation that went on a trip up to Augusta last month to tour the Georgia Cyber Center. The purpose of our call today is to share some of the takeaways from that trip. To kick us off, Warren Parker from the South Coast Cyber Center is going to give just a little explanation about what efforts are already underway here in the Beaufort region and kind of why we're benchmarking the Georgia Cyber Center.
Okay, thank you, Ian. And I really want to thank Ian for bringing us together today to talk about what I think is going to be an exciting future ahead for our region as we move forward in developing a cybersecurity ecosystem here in Beaufort. It's an ecosystem that's going to incorporate academia, entrepreneurs, government, and business. And workforce education and workforce development are going to be at the center and are at the center of our cyber effort because we know only with world-class education can we have a workforce that attracts business entrepreneurs and the tech talent that we're going to need. We know that there are 300,000 or to 500,000, depending on who's doing the counting, open cybersecurity jobs in the United States. And we know there are at least 5,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs right here in the state of South Carolina. We know in our region that we need to diversify our economy. And we know finally that we have a place where people want to come to live and want to be able to raise their children. Given all of this, there's a tremendous opportunity for us waiting to be realized. And that's why we put together the South Coast Cyber Center. We're a collaboration of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, the Technical College of the Lowcountry, the Beaufort Digital Corridor, the Beaufort Economic Development Corporation, along with the city of Beaufort, Port Royal, our county government, and business leaders. And I can spend a lot of time talking about process and how we are going to go about putting together these centers of academic excellence. But I want the Georgia Cyber Center, which is kind of our topic of discussion today, is our model. I found the Georgia Cyber Center here a year or so ago and had some really great discussions with a gentleman named Eric Toller. Eric is a retired Army colonel. He's executive director of the Georgia Cyber Center up in Augusta. And they have become a real model for us. And based on that, we've put together our team, a vision of how we're going to develop this world-class cybersecurity ecosystem right here in our region. And our intent is to build that workforce and grow that business environment. Ultimately, what we envision as a cyber center as an entity would house the cyber programs of the university, the technical college. It would provide space for entrepreneurs to work with new ideas. It will provide space for startup companies and a space for established cybersecurity companies that will move to the region. We envision a close working relationship with state and federal government and the military, including the National Guard and Reserve. We have a tremendous opportunity here in South Carolina and in our region, because an hour and a half away is the Navy Information Warfare Command. 2 hours away is the Army Cyber Command in Augusta. We in this state have a cyber protection battalion within our Army National Guard, and we have a reserve Army Cyber Brigade. Our recent visit to the Georgia Cyber Center was a unique opportunity and underlined the power of collaboration. And if you go there and if you see what they've done, it is a collaborative effort of the military, government, academia, 2-year schools, 4-year schools, the business community, to come together and put in place an organization which is literally transforming the Augusta region and the counties that surround Augusta based on the cyber industry. With that, I'll conclude for right now.
Warren, thanks for opening us up and kind of setting the stage to dig in a little bit deeper on the model that's been developed in Augusta at the Georgia Cyber Center. Dr. Eric Skipper from USCB is going to give us a quick overview of their structure and how they are organized.
Thank you, Ian. And thanks for organizing the event. So it's a great visit, impressive facility that they have there. It opened in 2018. It was constructed with funding from the state of Georgia. They told the story that Nathan Deal, then the governor, took a trip to Israel, which is a world leader in technology innovation, came back inspired, wanted to do this in Georgia. Georgia Tech wanted it. They saw the benefit in terms of economic impact to have it in Augusta as opposed to just another big building in Atlanta, as well as a collaboration with Fort Gordon. And so it was determined they would put it in Augusta, and it's taken off. Augusta University owns and operates the building, and the mission echoes what Warren said: create an ecosystem of collaboration to solve the nation's challenging cybersecurity problems. So in terms of the specs of the building, there are 2 big buildings, 5 stories each, over 330,000 square feet. The partners or those residents within the building include government, which occupies about 40% of the space, includes the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, Georgia National Guard, Defense Digital Service, which is a federal entity. It also includes private industry, for instance, BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, Parson Corporation, and then academia and nonprofit as well. So you have Augusta University has space there, Augusta Technical College. On a good day, on a good week, you'd have 1,200 total students, post-secondary students in the space. Also a space called the Clubhouse, which is local entrepreneur support and workspace. And then the more tangible features of the building include a 390 seat auditorium, classrooms obviously designed for a computer training exercise, a cyber range, which is a computing environment for training and demos. It's a rooftop terrace for gatherings, a coffee bar. I thought the coffee bar is great, no ID required to get to the coffee bar. So it's a great interface between the public and actually having to show your ID to get into the building. There is also an incubator space or a maker, sort of a maker space. They call it the garage, and it has high and low tech equipment and materials for innovation and creation. So yeah, I'll end there. That is sort of the specs of the space, and we can talk more in a little bit. Thank you.
Eric, thanks. So the mayor has put in the chat a link to the Georgia Cyber Center's website. Anybody who wants to go take a look and get some visuals, please go take a look there. We want to dig in and focus kind of on what the big takeaways were for us, and what lessons we can apply back home. So we'll kind of bounce around the horn from those who are on the trip and start with that first question. your biggest aha, the kind of thing you took away that was an inspiration point. Stephen, would you kick us off there?
Yeah, I would. Ian, I want to echo Warren in thanking you for the chamber for bringing us together and providing an opportunity for us to have this debrief as a community. Want to say hi to, I see Josh, and I know Councilman Mark Lawson's on, so appreciate you guys participating in addition to the folks from the Economic Development Corp. I think sort of two takeaways for me. One is just the collaborative spirit, and it was just remarkable to see so many entities at the local, state, and federal level participating under one roof. And I think the message of collaboration throughout the day was pretty consistent, right? About the opportunities that these students, so you got students who come into the building to take classes for Augusta University or with the technical college. They're able to intern with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation or any number of federal or state entities. The professionals in those organizations are also able to be professors and to be instructors as adjunct professors within the classroom. So just this idea of everybody under one roof being extraordinarily collaborative was really refreshing to me. I think the other takeaway was this idea of defense versus offense. I think a lot of military communities around the country typically play defense. So when things are good, there's no BRAC, we're sort of fat and happy. The money's flowing in, everything's okay. But then the moment that the feds start talking about a BRAC exercise or sequestration or starting to maybe take away some of the economic investment in our communities, then we start playing defense and we activate. In the case of Beaufort, it's the Military Enhancement Committee. In the case of Georgia, it was the Alliance for Innovation is what they call their exercise. But where I think they are different is after their last BRAC threat years ago, they decided that they were going to start playing offense and not just defense, and put together this plan to go to the feds, to go to the state, to ask for additional investment to create this collaborative model that they have now. And it didn't happen fast. It took them over 7 years once they had their plan together to actually attract that investment, to really start to see the fruits of that advocacy effort. And so that was the takeaway: is we need to be more proactive. We need to play offense if we're going to protect our assets and grow our assets in this community. And we have to be patient and persistent in our efforts. Going back to the collaboration, I'm going to post something in the comments here. One of my favorite quotes is "Think globally, act locally." The World Economic Forum puts out a future of jobs report. Eric Skipper and I have talked about this thing a number of times. It's sort of a great report that tells you what's happening in the world and what the skill sets are going to need to look like for our kids moving forward. So I'd encourage you to maybe take a look at that and then think about how we're building that economic ecosystem in Beaufort to take advantage of future opportunities. All right, so I'll be quiet so others can talk. I get excited about this because it's just really cool stuff, and we've got the makings of doing some remarkable things right here in Beaufort.
Thank you so much. Alice, we actually got 3 takeaways from Stephen. You want to underscore 1 or 2 of those, or maybe add a couple of your own?
All I can say is, wow, I had made that trip thinking I might be impressed, but I was very impressed with it. The one takeaway that I'd like to add, besides the collaboration and working regionally, which I was very evident, and they were so open with their information, which was great, is that they're putting a lot of effort in their K through 12 program in an effort to grow their own students. And of course, I was impressed that they're working a lot with women and girls, coding, cyber competition, to identify talent starting in a very young age. But that was my big takeaway, is that you grow your own, which has always been a problem in our area, that we grow our own and then they move away. And with this program, they can stay, and the potential for jobs is tremendous, which was my other takeaway. Thank you.
Thanks so much. The breadth of programming and their commitment to bringing young people into the space. It was already alluded to that pre-security and post-security, obviously it's a secure facility, but they clearly designed it to have a lot of pre-security opportunities for young people to come in and be inspired. And we learned a lot about breadth and depth of their programming for those young folks. Dr. Gough, you were with us on the trip, and obviously in their program in Georgia, it's both 2- and 4-year degree components, and certainly here in Beaufort, we're well underway to setting up an analogous 2- and 4-year degree program. So kind of your thoughts about what you saw and experienced and how it might fit into to TCL's plans.
Yeah, thank you, Ian, for the chance to speak. I don't know that I can add a great deal to what has already been said. Clearly, it was a very impressive facility. The magnitude of the funding and support and collaboration is without question. But I think we have to really step back at this point and think about how we might operationalize what we learned. What did we learn there that can apply to Beaufort? And I think that we're on our way to do that. I think that clearly the demand is there, both locally, regionally, and state, and it would grow. But I think now we have to provide, we need to prime the well, we need to provide a supply of trained folks to populate these existing and new and expanding businesses. And we're working on that. Eric at USCB and company and TCO, we're working on certificates. So you mentioned associate degrees and baccalaureate degrees, but I think just as important, maybe more important, are certificates. Industry recognized certificates, certifications. And that's our focus. And we're going to continue to press on that hard with the funding that we've now believe we're going to have soon. The grant funding is going to really prime that well for us and get us started. So I'm really excited about this. You're going to see on the TCL side that we're going to have our associate program up very soon, and we're going to have our certificate programs expanded here in the very near future. So I think right now, I think we learned a lot. I thought it was clearly outstanding. The cooperation, the level of participation by BAE, Northrop, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Universities Tech, and the Tech College there, amazing. But now, how do we apply that? How do we operationalize it? And I think from my side and from Dr. Skipper's side, I think we're heading down that road, and I'm really excited about it.
Rich, thank you. Other observations anybody want to make before we kind of shift gears and talk about that operationalization? Warren?
Yeah, I'm going to skip around a couple of topics here, but I want to get them in before we run out of time. We've talked about, somebody said something about K through 12. NIWC, Naval Information Warfare Command Atlantic, is in Charleston, an hour and a half away from us. Had great conversation with their executive director the other day. We have already set up a meeting between Beaufort County School District and NIWC Atlantic to begin to put in an educational partnership with those people on STEM programs and how they can help with science, technology, and math here in Beaufort County. Also have a meeting set up here in March with Bridges Prep, and in the beginning stages of setting up the same thing with Jasper County and Polaris Tech, the charter school out there. So I want to make that point. The other point I wanted to make was, some people say Beaufort's too small. Beaufort's this, Beaufort's that. I want to tell you that one of the premier universities in this country, in the United States, in cybersecurity is Dakota State University. Some people on this panel have heard me talk about this over and over again, but I think it's instructional because the town of Madison, South Dakota is 7,000 people. There are more people in Hampton, Colleton, Beaufort, and Jasper County than there are in South Dakota. And they have one of the premier cybersecurity programs in the country. It can be done. And their K2 through 12 program on the Indian reservation, which is adjacent to them, is one of the premier K through 12 programs in the country as well. Everybody hit the collaboration point before. I think the important thing is they've made the commitment, and as Eric Toller has said, and the people over in Charleston have said, at Nywick, the Citadel, various other, there's plenty of room on this field for everybody to play. Eric Skipper made a point one time that if we filled every seat in every university and college out there, we still would not have enough people educated in cybersecurity to fill all the empty jobs. And the spirit of cooperation in this community, I think, is what's going to get us there. And there's a bright future ahead for this.
Ian, if I could jump in kind of on the set the local stage, because I argue this, defense versus offense, but I might argue that right now we're in a position in this community where we need to be playing a strong defense first, and also thinking about a strong offense long term. And I think strong defense because if you think back to October of last year, you've got the Commandant of the Marine Corps saying that gender integration is going to pose a great challenge where they might close Parris Island and consolidate San Diego and Parris Island somewhere in the Midwest or Texas. We know that there's rising sea level challenges on the installation that's going to take a significant amount of money to mitigate those efforts. Now, I don't want to get into partisan politics because I'm a nonpartisan mayor, but we do have a new administration in DC that has a fair amount of entitlement programs that they have promised. That those monies are going to have to come from somewhere. If you look at the federal budget, defense takes up a large portion of it. We now have an assistant deputy defense secretary who's been on record for over 15 years encouraging BRAC efforts and saying that the military inventory across the country is bloated and needs to be cut. So I think as a community that depends on $1.8 billion in economic impact annually to power our community. 2 now, Warren? Yeah, okay. Well,
2.5.
doing some change. Okay. Two
billion here, $1 billion there.
right? It's a big number. It's with a B. I think we ought to be concerned. And I think, first and foremost, we need to be working together to figure out how we protect the assets that we have today. But I also think if you are a student of strategic foresight or futuring and you're looking out in the distance, one of the takeaways from the Cyber Center is, I think sometimes we have this perception that hackers are some pimply faced teenagers in their parents' basement that are hacking into databases just for fun. That was certainly kind of my impression until this last year or so as I start digging into what's actually happening in the world. And they talked a little bit when we were up there last month about networks and how there are very sophisticated, very organized networks of just individuals, organized crime, but also foreign countries that are supporting and promoting these type of efforts to attack us. Those threats are going to continue to grow. I believe the battlefield of the future will not be a physical battlefield, but will be a digital battlefield. I believe that the Marine Corps and the military as a whole will be more dependent on brain power and less manpower. So we need to start asking our questions. Are we setting ourselves up to take advantage of those opportunities and to make sure our community is shifting as the military mission shifts over the coming years?
Hugely important points. And I think that combo of offense and defense is the right strategy. We do have a lot of ground to protect, but being able to envision what the future needs and start building for it now, we're in a good position for that. I'll add only one takeaway that hasn't really been highlighted yet, and I hope that others who get a chance to visit in the future may pick up on. When they built the Georgia Cyber Center, they really didn't skimp on the look of the place or the design features. And throughout our tour, I was struck by, it was a place you wanted to be, whether you're a student or a company or a government agency. They didn't just go adaptively reuse some old building and try to build from there. They swung big. They got a lot of help from the governor financially in one-time dollars to make that happen. but they've cited something that looks completely in place in Silicon Valley or Austin or Boston, and they built it right in the heart of Augusta, Georgia. And the amount of redevelopment that anchored property is already doing in, frankly, an area, a metropolitan area that has a very high poverty rate and a very low median income. They built it to be a showplace, and they really project that confidence from the moment you step foot on the campus. And that was a thing I hope we don't lose as we think about the facilities we will need to make this thing everything it could be in the Beaufort region. The second big thing we wanted to cover, and we've already drifted into that space, but the elements that we can apply back home and what our organizations are going to do to help advance it. So, Rich already took us there on the commitment that TCL has made, and Warren has set up a little bit about the structure here. Can we maybe go around the horn, and maybe Eric, start with you on kind of the commitment level locally, and what are our next steps, and what do we envision here in Beaufort?
Great, thank you, Ian. So we have two new faculty hires at one assistant professor level and one at the associate professor level, who have, part of what they're doing is helping us with our cyber efforts. Starting in the fall, we will begin a concentration in cybersecurity that will be housed within the information science and technology degree program. So the timing of the the grant, which we haven't spoken about, and so forth, is there's significant opportunity for all of us. The ecosystem word that we keep circling back on. I want to say one thing that we continue to focus on in this conversation and elsewhere is the collaborative piece and being intensely collaborative. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, Stephen, that you and I have talked about a lot is the innovation piece around the predictions of the World Economic Forum. If anybody has not read or taken a look at Klaus Schwab's book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, what we're looking at is every sector, every industry is going to be transformed. And I think the timing is impeccable. I think the timing is impeccable for all of us. I think it's impeccable for our universities and technical colleges. When we're looking at the rate of change, of transformation, and COVID being an accelerant and not a change agent, everything that was anticipated to happen 8 years out, 10 years out is happening now. It's happening in higher education. It's happening in industry. We're watching retail shut down. The last count, I think there were 27 closed back in November. And these are big names like GNC and J. Crew and Neiman Marcus and things that are household names. So huge transformation of society, huge transformation of the workforce, of how we, everything from how we live, how we bank, how we shop, work, educate ourselves, entertain ourselves, how we travel. Everything is hugely being transformed. And so I think the timing for this is perfect. And I think that if you're not innovating, you're dying. And I think it goes back to the offense and defense. That pushing forward part has to continue to happen emphatically. And I think universities and technical colleges and entities like the South Coast Cyber Center have to be pushing continually and be out on the front of that. And I think, so anyway, that's what USCB is contributing. I went off of that a little bit, but I feel passionately we need to continue to lean forward. And I'm so glad that the collaborative effort that is the South Coast Cyber Center is in place, because I think that's, that's part of what it is.
Warren, could you jump in and share the good news that we have to share as a region about the recent federal grant that's helping accelerate the pace of our progress?
Well, I don't want to jump any guns here and get too far ahead of my. I don't want to be circling the field here before we and spiking the ball before we get the official word. But it looks like we are going to get a grant from the Office of Economic Adjustment of the Department of Defense. It's been over a year before since we started this process with OEA. Originally came from something that was done in Colorado Springs, where they too were much like what Stephen was talking about, playing defense. They had played defense on protecting their bases and protecting other things out there in Colorado Springs. And they found themselves up against a wall, really, and looked at cybersecurity as their future, cybersecurity education, business, etc. And applied for an OEA grant and got it. They're in the second iteration of that now, and it is transforming Colorado Springs, so their business environment. I hope that we get a final approval here very quickly. There was some other movement this morning. We have to answer one more bureaucratic question, but it is literally and I don't mean that as a pejorative, but it's literally a bureaucratic question about how the system works at the University of South Carolina. So I'm very hopeful that we will see an official yes here very soon.
Warren, sorry for putting you on the spot too early. Some exciting news that we'll help share with the community as it becomes official. But everybody on the call got the early insight there. Dr. Gough, TCL's also made some strategic hires and is moving to stand up programs and build off of existing programs. Can you give us a quick snapshot of the investments that have already been made and where the college is headed?
Yeah, thank you, Ian. I just would like to echo what Dr. Skipper said about COVID being an accelerant. I think we see it every place, and I don't think that's going to abate once this wicked virus goes away. I think they're going to see all the changes that have occurred in e-commerce and in banking and you name it, the retail. It's going to continue and probably get bigger, which means that there's bigger targets out there for these cyber criminals that want to get in there and bugger stuff up. And we're gonna do our best to provide a workforce to stop that. We currently have a certificate. We've had it for a long time, but it's been rather narrow and limited in the numbers we can handle. It's designed for IT professionals who want to specialize in cyber. We currently have that. We have probably 6 or 8 students in that program right now. But by this fall, we'll have added additional certificate, I expect, and we'll move into a 2-year associate degree as soon as we get SAC COC approval. We're going to, we have two new hires. We've hired a consultant, but that consultant is finishing his time. We interviewed this week. We made offers to 2 full-time faculty, one in computer information systems and one specifically cyber, and they're both very experienced. I'm expecting them to hit the ground running, and I'm excited about what we can do for the fall.
So we've got our 2 premier higher education institutions in the region already aligned and investing in content and program development and faculty. We've got a convening entity, the South Coast Cyber Center, working to secure sizable funding to help market and launch the success of these programs. You've got alignment from city and county level governments and private sector entities, all committed. So for those on the call, I hope what you're hearing is a region that's got a plan, that's committed, and that is collaborating. We'll go one time around the horn. Actually, let's hold that for a close. We've covered the main things we wanted to cover. Anybody on the call, we've got some great folks with us live. questions that you'd like for anybody on the call to elaborate on, we'll open the floor for those now.
Josh, I know you got a question.
I was scratching my back. Sorry about that. That wasn't.
Hey, well, as you're thinking about them, I'll just turn back to the panel for kind of a couple of closing thoughts here. Again, I hope you've heard that there's an ambition out there that is achievable. Augusta is a region not that different than ours. They do have a couple of strategic assets. The Army Cyber Command is a big one there. We've got some serious assets in this region too, including about 1,100 Marines who depart service every year, and many of whom view Beaufort, the Beaufort Port Royal region, as a hometown. Those are folks who can pass a background check, who have tremendous skill set, and who, if we could show a path to a family sustaining wage job in an exciting career field with growth potential, I believe we could successfully retain in this community. The effort here around cybersecurity seems to check so many of those boxes. So, we asked about what organizations are committed to doing. The Chamber is committed to being as big a cheerleader as we can possibly be for this effort. It's going to take help from our friends in Columbia. Augusta could not have done this without serious appropriations. We're going to need that too. But I think all of this is hinging on a community belief that we can do it. This is a community with a tremendous amount of self-identity, self-pride. There's no lack of confidence in Beaufort about our character, our history, our specialness, our uniqueness. I want to make sure that we bring that same level of confidence to envisioning our future and a brighter economy and a brighter job picture for kids who are born here. And to me, there's just such an abundantly clear pathway in cybersecurity. That's why, what we will endeavor to do as the Beaufort Regional Chamber is to go out and be the leader on the messaging and to do everything we can do to help pull the business community aligned behind our educational institutions, the South Coast Cyber Center, and our county and municipal partners to help make this happen. Guys, any final thoughts? We'll kind of go around the horn. Councilmember Howard, do you want to start with any final thoughts?
Just wanted to thank Warren Parker for arranging for the trip. It was an eye-opening experience, and I'm convinced we could do this here.
It's a clear vote of confidence. Dr. Skipper?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just to mirror what we all saw in Augusta, and the multiple facets of that facility. They're supporting military and cyber infrastructure for the public good, and at the same time spawning innovation, spawning tech entrepreneurship. I think each side of that organically and serendipitously informs the other as we go forward. And so I think the possibilities, I think we're going to see possibilities that we can't anticipate right now. But I do think the forward momentum is going to pull us collectively as a community into a next realm of innovation and vitality and relevance that I think that we can't really even predict right now. So I'm very excited about it.
Dr. Gough, closing thoughts?
I think it was very impressive, our opportunity to go to the Georgia Cyber Center. The collaboration and the synergy between private and public is quite amazing. Perhaps one of the next steps for us is to see what we can do to bring in private business and concerns into this equation. Right now, we're looking primarily on the public side, but it would be great to have some partners. If we can seek them out, I think that would be very helpful. That's it, Ian.
Colonel Parker.
Eric Toller, the executive director there at the Georgia Cyber Center, took us up to the roof of the building where they have a reception area where they can hold dinners and receptions. The interesting part to go to the roof of the Georgia Cyber Center is to look across Augusta, look across the Savannah River, and you can literally watch the growth taking place. You can see the growth taking place in that area. The growth of businesses, the growth of hotels, the growth of other things that are part of the growth of that cyber ecosystem there in Augusta. You can see the cranes turning. It is quite a sight to see, and I'll tell you, Eric Toller pointed out one thing on a slide. One of the things they tout about businesses coming to Augusta and the cyber tech businesses is, oh, by the way, 2 hours away is Beaufort, and you go down there and have fun. So we can tout that 2 hours away is the Augusta Cyber Center or the Georgia Cyber Center, Army Cyber Command. Hour and a half away is the Navy Information Warfare Command, and we're in the middle. And you know, in this day of technology, and as Eric said, at the fourth generation, those distances are lightning speed away with technology. We've got a great opportunity.
Mary, you have the final word.
Well, I want to pat ourselves on the back. This initiative just started a little over a year ago when a copy of Warren Parker's white paper got sent over to me, and we called a meeting. And so I want to thank John O'Toole at the Economic Development Corp was on the call. I think to Rich's question about attracting industry, we're teed up once we can demonstrate that we have a workforce pipeline and we've got the ecosystem components to be able to go in and ask cybersecurity to relocate here. With the digital corridor, we're able to grow those folks in this community if needed. Both of those entities put in money into the effort. The city of Beaufort, we put in a small token of funding. Dick Stewart, 3OC Associates, also put in some funding to get us going. But I really want to thank Rich Gough and Eric Skipper, Chancellor Panu over at USCB and TCL. I think it is important to realize that, especially through COVID, enrollment is down in both of their institutions. They have a number of competing entities and faculty, and there's never enough resources to do everything they want to do. And yet they have found a way to say cybersecurity is a place we want to go. And they've been able to find the resources and dedicate the resources to hiring staff and to make those first steps forward. And so I think I am certainly very appreciative, and I think others of us in the community should be very appreciative. I think with the grant, we're teed up to get about 20% of our 3 to 4 year funding requests that we've put together, but we still have a long way to go in making sure that we have the resources to power this effort long term. As an elected official, plenty of people often call me to tell me what not to do or what they don't like about something that I'm doing. But I would say that one of the takeaways, because our friend Connie Hip always says, make sure there's a call to action at the end of your presentations. So reach out to your local, your state, and your federal representatives and tell them that you want them to support the cybersecurity initiative. You want resources to be put into this effort because it's going to require their participation. It's going to require our participation to make these things work long term. The other thing that keeps me awake at night, it's that old Field of Dreams line, if you build it, they will come. I'm convinced that we are going to build a really remarkable workforce to job, private sector, entrepreneurial pipeline in this community. We're going to build this ecosystem. Digital Corridor, the Economic Development Corp, TCL, USCB. There's just a number of players who are all on the same page, putting together a really cool program of work. My fear is making sure that we've got students and we've got exiting military and we've got working adults who want to take advantage of those opportunities and that we fill that pipeline. because this doesn't work if Rich and Eric create classes and hire professors and then nobody signs up to take them. So that's my other call to action for the community members, is start planting those seeds around our community that we're going to have these resources available. You know who to get in touch with to go have the conversation about them. And whether you want to go take a boot camp class at the Digital Corridor, you want to go get a certificate at TCL or an associate's degree, you want to get a bachelor's and maybe even a master's degree in cybersecurity at USCB, we have the full menu of training resources for you right here in this community. And so we got to figure out how to break those barriers down to get people into the training program. So I just ask, be a positive advocate to leadership who writes checks, and encourage kids and working adults to start having an interest in cybersecurity initiatives and take advantage of this really cool training opportunities that we're putting together.
I love the calls to action. They echo the one I was going to offer. For everybody on the call, you have now been deputized. So we do need evangelists out there in the community helping to make this thing real. There is a strong action plan. There's a model. Investments are being made already. This is a real thing. This isn't a pie in the sky ambition. We can be very successful with this and achieve an outcome that I've heard consistently since arriving in this community. We want to have good jobs for our kids and grandkids so that they can stay here and thrive here. And this is a really critical step toward that outcome that is within our grasp. So, you know, I would only add to the mayor's comments that for everybody on the call who heard something that was inspiring to them, share that inspiration 2 or 3 times. Your neighbors, your colleagues, your family members, the more people who have a belief that the Beaufort region can seize this, I think the better chance we're going to have, the quicker we'll get it done and the more effective we'll be.
Ian, you have a hand up.
Oh, I do have a hand up. All right, so before we wrap it up, were there any final questions?
Mitch, you got your hand up.
I do. I wasn't sure whether this question was referring to the folks who've already spoken on me. But being that I'm talking, I want to thank first the mayor for alerting me that this event was taking place today at noon. Otherwise, I would not have known. Secondly, I want to thank everyone for all they've done thus far. There was some talk about offense and defense, but I think as a team effort, good offense and good defense is what really win games. And that's what we're trying to do here. So I just want to remind everyone that, offense and defense are good, but good diversification is what's going to probably save the day for Beaufort in the long run. Because I will tell you that, and Warren will attest to this, those Marines, when they make those decisions, whether they keep Paris out or move it to some other place, Texas or wherever, it's all going to be about the Marines and what's best for the Marines and making them mission ready. So while we'll have to try to defend and keep Paris Island here, it certainly would be good to have some other things going on just in case that's not the outcome. So this cyber effort, I commend everyone and I want to be a great part of it. I also want to say that as a council person and now being at the decision-making table, I would like to know as much about it as I can and participate in any field trips. So if it comes to a decision, I'm making an informed decision. So anything that anyone has to share with me, any way you see you can leverage me, I'm here for the effort. So again, thanks to all of you. This is really great stuff.
Thank you, Mitch.
All right. Well, with that, we'll conclude today's. Thank you so much for joining us live. If you're watching this recorded at a later date, thank you for watching the whole way through. Important presentation, important opportunity for the future of our region. Thanks for investing your hour with us today. Have a good afternoon.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for setting this up.